100 years ago, a man known as the Sleeping Prophet made a prediction that at the time seemed like madness. When the third world passes through the sky, humanity will see those whom it once called gods. Edgar Cayce, America, 1934. Then his words were taken as a metaphor. Today, as a warning. In July 2025, the Atlas observation system recorded an object that does not belong to the solar system. A hyperbolic orbit, an unusual composition, strange behavior. The comet was named 3I Atlas, the third interstellar traveler, after ʻOumuamua, 2017, and 2I Borisov, 2019. And it was precisely the third that, according to Cayce's prophecies, was to become the sign. The first, awakening; the second, knowledge; the third, return. A scientist from the University of Hawaii, who first recorded the object, said in a comment for Sky and Telescope, "It behaves strangely. Its jets of gas are directed not away from the sun, but toward it." That sentence later disappeared from the site. In the official images, a green-gold tail whose brightness fluctuates without visible reason, NASA confirms the orbit is indeed hyperbolic, meaning 3I Atlas will not return. It came once. And that is exactly how Cayce described the messenger. He will come only once, and he will leave, but memory will remain after him. Some researchers point out that the three interstellar objects appeared at intervals of exactly 2 years. ʻOumuamua, 2017, Borisov, 2019, Atlas, 2025. The gap between the second and the third is longer, 6 years. Cayce used that very number when he spoke of the cycle of return. Then it made no sense. Now it coincides with astronomical data, but the real sensation is not in the orbit but in the details. 3I Atlas moves from a region where there is no stellar system close enough to explain its speed, and at the same time it periodically lights up, as if responding to some impulses. This effect was first observed in August. Every 6 hours a jump in brightness was recorded, like a pulse. And the very word breathing Cayce used in his trance records. The third world will breathe. Those who learn to hear silence will hear its breath. Scientists explain the flashes as the breakup of ice. But then why is the rhythm stable? Exactly 6 hours. No comet behaves so synchronously. When journalists began asking questions, one of NASA's researchers replied, "We are recording unusual magnetic fluctuations, but we cannot yet explain their nature." The report disappeared from the agency's site 2 days later. That is not yet proof, but no longer coincidence, especially considering that during this same period, the Pentagon announced the creation of a new division for the study of UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena. And it did so on the very day Atlas first entered NASA's official catalogues. Coincidence? Maybe, or maybe, the beginning of a story that Cayce saw 100 years before we lived it. After the discovery of 3I Atlas, everything seemed ordinary, just another comet, only from another system. But within a week, the data began to fall apart. In August, the European Southern Observatory reported that the object had deviated from its calculated orbit by 600 kilometers. This cannot be explained by gravitational influences or gas pressure. One of the astronomers who signed the report later deleted his comments from social media. That same month in Canada, the CHIME radio telescope recorded low-frequency pulses repeating every 6 hours, the same interval as the comet's pulsations. Officially, possible interference in the equipment. But independent analysts from Japan confirmed that the signal came from the same direction as Atlas. That same week, there was a failure in the Iridium satellite communication system. 5 seconds of complete silence. No technical reason was found. Later, in a technical summary, engineers mentioned a short electromagnetic pulse at a frequency of 26 hertz, the same number that for decades appears in Cayce's transcripts. 26 is the key. In it lies the rhythm of awakening. While scientists argued, the Pentagon convened an emergency meeting. The reason? New videos from US Navy fighter jets. Objects that do not obey the laws of physics, UAP. In a report obtained by journalists through a FOIA request, it was stated, "The frequency of electromagnetic fields during the appearance of the objects coincides with 26 hertz. Source house unknown." The accumulation of coincidences began to look like a system. ʻOumuamua appeared when the first talks about anomalous objects began. 2I Borisov at the moment when the United States created its first official group to investigate UAP. 3I Atlas, when these objects were already officially acknowledged. 3 events, 3 objects, 3 steps leading back to Cayce's phrases. 3 rays will pass through 3 worlds, the sky, the air, and the water, and when the last touches the sea, all will remember. September 2025. Near the coast of Iceland, the research vessel Árni Magnússon recorded an underwater sound, low, continuous, the same 26 hertz. At first they thought it was the movement of tectonic plates, but the signal came not from below, but from the depths of the ocean, from a depth where geological activity cannot exist. A week later it was recorded near Bermuda, and each repetition coincided in time with another jump in the brightness of 3I Atlas, as if the comet and the ocean were speaking to each other. When light touches the water, memory will awaken. Cayce, Session 1941. This line had long been considered a metaphor, but now NOAA reports contain entries. Acoustic activity of unknown origin is being recorded. Character, harmonic. Some scientists cautiously assume it may be the result of solar wind influence through atmospheric ionization. However, there is a problem. The bursts occur when solar activity is minimal. Journalists from Vice News, in their investigation, cite a phrase from one of NASA's analysts. "We are dealing not simply with an object. It could be something like an interstellar probe or a beacon." And again, the word Cayce used, messenger. In October, the Mauna Kea Observatory reports that a thin cloud has appeared around the comet, glowing in the microwave range. Its intensity changes as if by an algorithm. Some experts say, perhaps it is a natural fluctuation of gas. Others remain silent. When journalists ask why part of the images has not been published, NASA's official response sounds dry. The data are undergoing verification. This phrase is used when information is temporarily withheld. And Cayce, back in the 1930s, wrote, "When the third world appears, not everyone will be allowed to look, but all will feel that the sky has changed." At first glance, a coincidence. But what if he described not the future, but a cycle that repeats? Perhaps 3I Atlas is not the first world to come from beyond the system. Perhaps it is merely a trigger that activates an old program, a test of whether we are ready. October 2025. The world is preparing for the main celestial event of the decade, the passage of 3I Atlas, the third known interstellar object after ʻOumuamua 2017 and 2I Borisov 2019. The comet was discovered on July 1, 2025, by the Atlas CHL system in Chile. Later, older images from May 7 were found where the object was already visible. Its orbit is hyperbolic. That means it will not return. October 29 to 30, 2025, the date of perihelion, the moment of closest approach to the Sun. After that, it will pass by Earth on December 19th, at a distance of approximately 1.8 astronomical units, safe but record close for an interstellar object. Everything seemed calm until discrepancies began to appear. In September, a team from Canada noticed the real coordinates of Atlas differed from the predicted ones by almost 500,000 kilometers. In astronomy, that is an anomaly. One of the observers anonymously wrote in a technical chat, "The object is correcting its movement, not with gas but as if from the outside." The message was deleted a few hours later. At the same time, in NASA's internal system, a report appeared marked Internal Draft. 3I Atlas demonstrates deviations not explained by reactive jets, probable interaction with an unknown factor. 2 days later, the report was removed from the server, but copies were preserved by amateur astronomers. In parallel, the Pentagon released an updated report on UAP, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. Journalists from Vice News compared the dates from this document with Atlas's position on its orbit. The match was complete. Peaks in UAP observations occurred on the same days when the comet passed its orbital nodes. The publication was later removed from the site. In the Committee on Science of the House of Representatives, Congressman John Harris asked a NASA representative, "Is there a connection between Atlas and the anomalous phenomena recorded by the military?" The answer, "This information is classified." The recording of that part of the hearing was cut from the official broadcast. On October 3, 2025, the comet passed by Mars at a distance of about 0.19 astronomical units. Cameras of ESA's orbital probes recorded a strange effect. In the infrared image, one of the jet lines was directed not away from the Sun, but toward it. The official explanation? Local overheating of the core. Unofficially, physically almost impossible. That same week, 3 satellite systems, GPS, Starlink and Galileo, experienced a brief failure. 3 seconds of complete signal loss across the entire northern hemisphere. The reason? A solar storm. But on that day there was no solar flare at all. Afterward, a new term appeared in technical reports, ACE-1, Atlas Correlation Event. It is used in an internal memorandum of the US Department of Defense, a leak of which appeared online in October. The text stated, during ACE-1, a synchronous electromagnetic disturbance was recorded in the range of approximately 26 hertz. The source is not established. Possible connection with the interstellar object 3I Atlas. The same 26 hertz that in Edgar Cayce's archives is indicated as the number of awakening, and the coincidence in dates, accurate to the hour. Today, with only a few days left until perihelion, NASA, for the first time, declares that the comet has an extremely unstable core structure and anomalous gas emissions. Officially, a natural phenomenon. But some researchers in private chats write, it is consciously correcting its orbit. We see signal amplification when antennas are directed at it. Are there proofs? No. But every time someone asks questions about 3I Atlas, observation files and pages from open databases disappear from the network. Officially, data verification. Unofficially, the feeling of something greater approaching. While the comet is still on its way to the Sun, no one knows what will happen after October 30th. Some believe it will disintegrate. Others, that only then will the true reason for its flight be revealed. And if Cayce was right, then the third sign is not the end, but the beginning of observation, of us. They say that on the eve of great events, the earth always grows quiet, before a storm, before a war, before a birth. Silence is not peace. It is the moment when all living things hold their breath. Edgar Cayce called it the pause between the breaths of God. He said that it is in such moments that humanity has the chance to hear what has long been said, but we rarely listen. Today, October 2025, 3I Atlas is approaching the Sun. Telescopes are working, observatories are sending raw data, but most of it never reaches open access, supposedly for verification. And while scientists cautiously speak of anomalous behavior, millions of people simply look upward. Perhaps this is exactly what Cayce awaited, not discoveries, not sensations, not proof of another mind, but the moment when people simultaneously lift their eyes to the sky, not out of fear, but out of curiosity. He wrote, "When a person searches for life beyond themselves, they look into a mirror, not knowing they see their own reflection. The universe is not a place but a state, and what you see there will be who you are. We are used to thinking that we are looking for others, that they are civilizations, ships, signals, but perhaps it is simpler. We are looking for ourselves, the parts we have long lost. Atlas moves on its path, calm, relentless. It is unlike the rest. Its orbit is open, without return, and that is what frightens us, that it came only once, as a reminder." Cayce wrote, "The third world will pass to awaken memory. Not everyone will endure it, but everyone will feel it." Perhaps that is the essence of all sign, not to make us believe, but to make us remember, because every generation has its bell, its call, which can be heard or ignored, and while we argue about whether they exist, the universe asks the same question. Do we ourselves exist within our own consciousness? Perhaps the invasion will not begin from the sky, but from within. From the moment when humanity suddenly realizes that everything it did not believe in, everything it feared, was a part of itself. We are not afraid of others. We are afraid to meet our own depth. The one who understands that the sky is within will no longer ask whether there is life on other stars. He will know that life is the stars. Perhaps that is why we look at Atlas, not to find extraterrestrials, but to understand. We are not accidental observers. We are part of the system that observes itself. And if so, then every comet, every signal, every story is merely a reminder we are not alone because we are them. In his later years, Cayce often repeated, "Awakening is not an event. It is a process that begins with questions." He said that humanity will pass through three great questions. The first, who are we? The second, where do we come from? And the third, the most frightening, why are we? The answer to the third always comes painfully. Because when a person finds meaning, they can no longer live as before. And perhaps that is why most prefer to remain in darkness. It is familiar. It is safe. Cayce never frightened people. He spoke calmly, like an old teacher who knows the children are not yet ready. Do not fear what comes from the sky. Fear what comes from within you. Indifference, hatred, forgetfulness. We have been waiting for contact, but perhaps the contact has already happened. In that moment when we first looked at the stars and felt that something was looking back. He said that truth is always nearby, but we search for it in the most distant places. And so the universe sends us mirrors, comets, events, symbols, to make us stop and ask ourselves, what if all of this is not a signal to us but a signal from us? Then even 3I Atlas is not a messenger, but a memory of what we once already knew, that we were part of something greater, and that within us still lies the key to that knowledge. You did not come from the earth, he wrote. You came from the light, and you will return to the light. But before you go, you must recognize it. Perhaps that is why humanity has stopped now. Before a new stage, before a new question, we stand before our own mirror and see a comet. It will pass and disappear, but the question will remain. Cayce said that true contact does not begin with a signal, but with readiness. And perhaps they are not approaching us. It is we who are approaching them when we become a little wiser, a little kinder, when we stop fighting and begin to listen. When the heart becomes an antenna, you will hear what has always sounded in the silence. The comet 3I Atlas will pass by the sun, then by Earth, and go into the darkness. But perhaps it will still leave something. Not dust, not ice, but a question that will spin in every mind. Are we truly searching for life where there is none, instead of discovering it within ourselves? They do not come. They have never left. They are part of us, as we are part of them. Edgar Cayce, America, 1944. And what do you think? Is 3I Atlas just a comet? Share your thoughts in the comments, because sometimes truth is born not in telescopes, but in the words of those who felt it first.